Hey Asbury, this is Hannah Penalva, and I am a counselor here at the Center for Wholeness and Wellness on campus. And today I have an opportunity to talk to you all about technology addiction. So first of all, I want to talk about the beauties of technology because I don't want this video to be a blow towards all of technology. There have been so many helpful things, and it has been so positive in so many ways. As you all have known, in this time of COVID, we've been able to continue learning, even though we have to be socially distanced and sometimes be remote. And we have endless sources for doing research now more than ever, and means of communicating to people. So the learning just seems to keep growing and growing with technology. Also, creativity and expression. We're able to be creative and express ourselves in ways we also weren't able to do before. And a lot of studies have shown that blogging and journaling enhance creative thinking as well as our metacognition, so our ability to think about our thinking. And of course, the increased awareness and participation in movements and events, especially like throughout this year. I know that many students have been involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, learning more about the election just so we can have informed votes. And so we're just able to be more knowledgeable and informed of things that are going on in the world. Again, through COVID, we've been able to maintain personal and community connections in ways that we wouldn't have been able to. And I have to put a plug in for telehealth. Of course, being a counselor, I know that we have been so blessed to be able to reach our clients, and for also physical health. If you're needing to see a doctor and have meetings that way, there have been many people that haven't been able to go into the office. So telehealth availability has been a huge blessing of technology. Right, but how far is too far? So technology addiction is not in the DSM-5, so cannot be diagnosed with a technology addiction. But some research researchers describe it as frequent and obsessive technology-related behavior, increasingly practiced despite negative consequences to the user of the technology. So what do these negative consequences look like? Isolation, anxiety, depression, and relational and spiritual disconnect. I love this quote from T.S. Eliot: distracted from distraction by distraction. Let that sink in for a minute. So in a study that I found of about 201 randomly selected university students, they found that 38.3% of these college students are addicted to the internet in general, with 43.8% of the students being mildly dependent, 15.9% of the students having a moderate dependency on the internet, and 2% having a severe dependency on the internet. So that could be a realm of things: social media, online gaming, anything that involves using the internet. So what they found is the effects on emotional intelligence. So what exactly is emotional intelligence? So they defined it as understanding, reasoning, and handling our emotion. And they studied emotional intelligence based on these three categories: perception, planning, and productivity. And they did find that there is an inverse relationship between emotional intelligence and technology addiction. So what that means is, as people scored higher on the emotional intelligence scores, they scored lower in technology addiction. And then vice versa. The people that scored higher in technology addiction on that scale scored lower on the emotional intelligence scale. So let's kind of talk about the science here with the brain. So our brain is made up of white and gray matter. And the gray matter, so this is sort of like where the processing part happens. And it is made of areas like the frontal lobe, the striatum, and the insula. And they found that there's a huge amount of shrinking happening in people that are increasingly utilizing technology, whose screen time is much higher than the average person. So the frontal lobe, for example, so this is the area where we get stuff done. planning, prioritizing, organizing, impulse control. There is shrinkage that is shown there on those brain scans, as well as in the striatum. So this kind of coordinates aspects of cognition, decision-making, reinforcement, motivation, and reward perception. So making goals for ourselves and reaching those goals and staying disciplined in those things. And then there's the insula, which is quite the scariest part of this study that I've noticed is the development of empathy, compassion. So these two things, that area of the brain was shrinking and there's a loss of tissue there. And also the integration of physical signals with our emotions. So I don't know about you guys, I've done this so many times where I have texted somebody and I've said, haha, or LOL, or wow, that is so funny. I am dying. That is hysterical. And this is my face the entire time, right? Because our brain is not connecting our emotions with the physical signals that we usually would be showing in person. And then there's the white matter. So that's a significant part of the brain. And the brain scans found that it was more spotty than the average person who's not utilizing technology as much. So with this spottiness, it was showing a decrease in communication in the brain. So the links between the left and right hemisphere are being disrupted, and the paths between the cognitive and emotional brain center are being disrupted there. So that is quite scary. And so you can see if you just Google photos of somebody that has a drug addiction, opiate addiction, compared to a person with technology addiction, they're alarmingly similar as far as the loss of tissue in the brain and where that loss of tissue is. And also the last thing I want to talk about as far as the brain goes is the cortical thickness. So this is the lining of the brain. And again, they found that there was a thinning in that lining of the brain and that cortical thickness. So that's associated with general intelligence. The thicker it is, people have found to be just generally more intelligent. So with that shrinkage, that was also decreasing intelligence overall. So you may be sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, like, is that me? Is that my brain? Well, here's some questions to ask yourself. And then I'm going to give you all some steps that you can take if you are maybe aware, hey, I think I am utilizing too much technology to a point where it's unhealthy. So here's some questions. Do you find it difficult to spend more than a few hours without your phone? Can you leave your room if you forgot your phone and not freak out and have to go back and get it? Do you have any passions or hobbies outside of the use of technology? You'd be surprised how many people that I've asked and they've said, hey, what do you like to do for fun? And most of the time it is, I like to watch Netflix, I like to watch TV or play video games. And those things are not bad by any means, but what is the unhealthy part is when people find themselves saying, I actually don't know if I have anything that I like to do outside of the use of watching something, right? Of something else stimulating my brain without me getting my hands dirty or without me figuring out something that I'm good at, right? Outside the use of technology. Do you have difficulty sleeping? This question may seem a little out of the realm of technology addiction, but really it fits quite in because studies have shown that just looking at the blue light on our phones or our screens can affect our circadian rhythms and our melatonin levels. So those are both things that help us to sleep and get good quality sleep. So if we're constantly looking at our screens, then that can decrease that quality of sleep. Do you find yourself feeling understimulated without your phone? Can you do these things without needing to distract yourself? So eating a meal by yourself, just sitting there eating it without needing to look through emails or social media. Can you stand in line without the need to check your phone? And I'm not talking about like you get a text message and you want to reply to somebody. I mean that you have absolutely no notifications and you're like, oh, I need to do something to distract my brain. Can you just sit by yourself in silence, whether that is on a bench, in a waiting room, without the need to kind of pull out that screen and distract your mind? And finally, this last question may be silly, but do you spend more of your time utilizing technology than not? So there's this really cool thing I know on the iPhone where you can check how much screen time you've used, and you can check within each app. So merely looking at that, it can be quite alarming to see how much time you spend on each app and on your phone in general during the week and each day. And so kind of related to that, if you want to think back on the last day that you spent, you can ask yourself, do I spend more of my time utilizing technology and looking at a screen, or did I spend more of my time today connecting with others or doing something that I love to do outside of the use of technology? Okay, so the good stuff. What can you do about it if you're finding that you're aware, okay, I think that my use of technology is a little bit unhealthy? First thing, easier said than done, but avoid unnecessary checking. Keep your phone in your bag or pocket and try to avoid looking at it, like I said, just to distract yourself from being present and mindful. Get an alarm clock. Yes, they still make those. Yes, they work. I started using one about 3 years ago, and it has enhanced my quality of sleep immensely. I decided I'm not going to sleep with my phone in my room anymore, because you find that in the morning when you wake up, you just scroll and scroll and scroll, and next thing you know, you're late to class or wherever you need to go. Same thing at night. People have difficulty falling asleep, one, because of that blue light that affects our brain chemistry, and also just because it's a distraction and we can't get our brains to kind of relax and do the thing that it needs to do to go to sleep. Technology fasting. Yeah, so this is, I like to think of it as like technology detox. You can find actually some neat programs online for if you want to take some steps to sort of detox yourself and not just take the full cold turkey plunge. But I started doing this on Saturday nights. I turn off my phone and I don't turn it back on until Monday morning. I tell everybody that I'm close to, like, hey, you know, I don't have my phone on me on Sunday. And I also decided like not to watch TV or check my emails or anything like that, so I can be more present with my family and spend more time doing quality, spending time with quality people and increasing the quality of my relationships. So accountability, I put that there because you may have friends or family members in the same boat that are thinking, hey, I think I'm utilizing too much technology, or it's kind of reached a toxic point for me. So maybe do this with a friend or family member and have that accountability, like, hey, let's be without our phones this meal, or let's turn off our phones all day and just go on a hike or do something together like that. Eat your meals technology free. This one is huge. There's so much research that shows that looking at a screen and not being mindful of our eating can really decrease the quality of our digestion. It also can enhance, if you are technology free, it can enhance your gratitude of your meal, which is also associated with being happier when you have increased gratitude. Of course, deleting toxic applications. I know many people have deleted time and time again social media because they felt when they leave the application, they just feel more drained than it was a benefit to them. So if you want to go through some of your applications and say, okay, what is something that's more beneficial to me than consequential? And if it's vice versa, then go ahead and delete it, or kind of do a detox if you can of that. And setting boundaries for yourself according to your values and your emotional needs. Every person is different. Every person has different values. So according to what your goals are and what you want to do, set those boundaries for yourself. And I know that a lot of smartphones have the ability to kind of put limits on how much time we spend in our apps. So you can set that boundary there. Oh, and this is the most important, replacing that technology-free time, if you decide to do so, with something fulfilling to you. So not just sitting there, just twiddling your thumbs, but how can you be more mindful? If you have something that you want to get better at, like what can you do to do that? Maybe you want to get outside more. Maybe you want to learn to make baskets. I don't know, but find something that's fulfilling to you to fill that time. And as I end the video today, I want to leave you all with some scriptural applications that stood out to me when I was doing some of this research. So be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. That's from Ephesians 5:15 through 16. And do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Romans 12:2. Here are some of the resources if you all would like to look up the links to some of these studies. And if you are into TED Talks, these are some links to some great research on technology addiction and further steps that you can take if you would like to take a healthier approach to technology. Thank you all so much for listening.